I'm Supermoon Tarot, and in today's video we're going to be finding out how can we turn that frown upside down. A very corny title, I know. I just wanted to be silly and fun, and I'm not making a joke of this at all. In fact, actually, I find, and this is the reason why I titled it this way, when I am in a dark place, I get some of the best jokes and sarcasm at that point. I mean, look at our savior Daria. Is that not the whole entire theme of the show? So I do not say this with any hint of not taking the situation seriously. I've been there before. I've experienced it more than once. I know what it feels like to feel either incredibly hopeless, sad, or just unable to find a way. And my goal for this is to figure that out. How can we get you going? What can you reach out towards or work on to feel like you're making some sort of momentum? Now, before we get into all of that, I just wanted to say I have some talking videos I'm excited to work on, and I wanted to bring them out this week, and maybe I still will, but I am currently very sunburned. I'm a little strawberry or a tomato, if you will, and I think it would be best if I waited a few days and, well, wasn't so pink. Not that pink is bad, pink is one of my favorite colors. So you'll have to excuse me if I wait a little longer, but feel free to take this opportunity to put in any requests down below of any particular, whether it be pick-a-cards, talking video subjects. I've been traveling a lot back and forth to the Akashic Records, so feel free to ask any questions. I'm excited to get into it and talk about it with you, but I just wanted to put it out there that those are my intentions. So anyways, we have 4 groups in front of us. Group number 1, 2, 3, and 4, as you can see below. I want you to pick the group that you resonate with most. Now that you have, you can go down to the description where you can go to your designated group and mark timestamp. I'm wishing you the best already. Let's get started with group number 1. Group number 1. Let's find out how can we turn that frown upside down by looking at the cards. We have 9 of Wands upright, 10 of Wands in reverse, the Chariot in reverse, 3 of Wands in reverse, and 4 of Wands in reverse. You'll have to excuse me, I can hear how tired my voice sounds in the morning. It will waken up the more we speak. Actually, I'm going to take a little sip of water. I hope you don't mind. We're going to get a little bit better, but excuse my tired voice as I talk about that. It's actually very appropriate from what I'm seeing over here. Okay, so there's a couple different things going on, and I'm excited because I can get very specific, and there is going to have to be an effort put on your part. Some of that effort's going to be difficult due to what's going on over here in the 4 of Wands and over here in the 10 of Wands. There is a sense of you feel like something's being pushed back at you. For some of you guys, it's a feeling of like chronic fatigue and just a sense of being so exhausted from carrying a weight and tension and intensity. You just kind of feel like you can't fight back anymore, but you're going to have to. You're going to have to be proactive. We can get more specific now, but just understand that push resistance, if you're like, this is hard, I just feel like I can't. Yes, it is hard. But you will find the second you push back, it will fall a lot faster and easier like dominoes than you previously had experience with, because you just didn't know the right areas and walls to push, so to speak. And then it'll be like a breath of fresh air, and it will get a lot easier after that. But let's get into it. So over here in the 4 of Wands, this is explicitly talking about issues involving your home situation. That is one of the core things that is keeping you down. This is a sort of chicken and the egg type of thing. For most of you, for the best way I would explain this is a sense of feeling brought down or bogged down by energy. For some of you, it is straight up chronic fatigue, and for some of you, it's that burnout sensation we talked about, like you just can't. And it is creating a sense of energy that's coming off of you that then permeates the air, which then in turn comes back to affect you again. You can see the conundrum here, because how do you break a cycle where it's a constant affecting thing? For some of you, this is a family situation. You have family members that are bringing you down and adding to this, and this is the core issue. And for others, this has to do with sort of just a chicken and the egg thing. You got exhausted one day, maybe you started to feel apathetic and kind of sat and watched too many, Netflix shows in a row, and it started to make you feel lethargic, and you kind of sat in it more and more, created this energy, and now the house is sort of stale, if you will, and is then just bringing you down, bringing you down, bringing you down. So the first thing you have to do is get out of the house. You have to do whatever you can to get out of the house. This can be anything from sitting in your backyard. You could literally, if you wanted to, hold on, let me just ask my spirit guide something. No, okay, never mind. I was like, can they take their Netflix on their phone and step outside the house? And they said, nope, leave it behind. But you can sit in the backyard. You can go for a short walk around your neighborhood. It doesn't have to be this big excursion. But either way, you need to get out of that environment in order to physically break this cycle and just do something different, so to speak. But continuing on, the reason why you want to get out of this cycle is it's preventing creating what's going on here in the Three of Wands in reverse. This is when messages are not being received to you. This is a bunch of different things in this particular case. For some, it's causing technological issues, so you're not actually getting text messages or invites or conversations from anybody because it's being disrupted by what's going on over here. So you don't even know anyone's trying to talk to you and then cheer you up and get you excited about life or anything like that. For others, it's a sensation of like people wanting to reach out to you, and you are receiving those messages and they're talking to you, but you just kind of can't internally feel those messages and then want to take on the invitations because you're just like, I don't feel motivated. It's not, I just don't want to. Either way, it's this sensation of there is opportunity and interaction going on that will then cause this sense of inspiration and steamroll or snowball, whatever your analogy is you want to hear or choose, that will start to create the opposing combative feeling to whatever this is. So like example, if you feel hopeless, you need to feel hope. You see what I'm saying? What's going on over here will properly help combat what's going on over here. But if this is taking on too strong of a sort of fighting off this feeling by motivating you more to stay in, pulling you in, bogging you down, it's hard to receive or even feel motivated to receive any of these messages going on over here. Going on, we have the Chariot in reverse. This is super important. This is a mentality you are going to keep in mind. This is difficult, not because it's hard to wrap your mind around, but you have to, in the moment when these opportunities present itself, be self-aware, realize this mentality I'm about to share with you, and then be proactive about enforcing it, recognizing it, acknowledging it. So, in the Chariot reverse, I can see there has been an issue, sort of an inner battle going on with a light and shadow self. But here's the interesting perspective. Yes, there has been maybe beating yourself up that you're not the quote-unquote light version of yourself, positive, high vibrations, whatever kind of keywords I can think of to best express this generalized concept. And then maybe you're really sinking in and beating yourself up about feeling your shadow version of yourself, aka, jealousy, anger, self-doubt, whatever it is. And there's just a heightened awareness of this. And you're like, okay, I got to get this sorted. I got to figure this out. I'm aware of that. And there's a sort of push and pull and not properly integrating both. Here's the thing where it gets interesting. It's not about integrating them both specifically. It is actually about harmony. Okay, so I'm going to have to do the best I can to make this a succinct, quick concept. So I'm going to have to skim and give you sort of the cliff notes to properly explain things. But coincidentally enough, I was in the Akashic Records about some number-oriented stuff. And I learned that a lot of people think the number 2 is associated with harmony. But in fact, harmony is associated with the number 3. This is specifically because it is about the one thing interacting with another, and then it in turn creates a third concept. And then all of these 3 things actually always affect one another and constantly affect each other, and that in itself is harmony. So to give you an example of that, they told me a good example would be like parents. So you have, your one parent, another, they affect each other, they create a child, and then in turn they all affect each other. Another idea is, hold on, my spirit guides are saying something. Never mind, they said don't share this next example. Never mind, I'm not going to share this next example. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that to you. You could also think of it as like the moon and the ocean affecting and then creating an environment on Earth, and then all those 3 things affecting each other. That's another good example. So in turn, it's about being aware that you have a quote-unquote light side, then a shadow self, and then that then creates who you are. It's like a third gray element, you can say, all the in-betweens. And you're meant to properly support and allow all 3 to integrate in each other. So it's about acknowledging not so much like judging yourself, but in turn, as it pops up, kind of going, well, when I feel this shadow self, it creates this, maybe within the gray version of yourself, and then it can then help support this light idea, and then you kind of see how they all balance each other and start to feel like you can support yourself more, I guess is the best way to put it. And you can be like, oh, wow, it's all integrating together beautifully. I don't need to just get bogged down with, it's like getting stuck in one idea, like being consumed with being ashamed of something. And then realizing if you see how they all work together in harmony, you start to kind of feel more excited, educated, enlightened, kind of start to see the benefits of everything. So going on, last is we have the 10 of Wands and the 9 of Wands in reverse, both in reverse, interacting with each other. This is super important. So for some cases, this specifically represents a person. Somebody is really putting a lot of tension and burden onto you, and it's time to give it back to them. And this includes the energy they are pushing onto you too. So some of the feelings you're taking on, because you're an empathetic person, I'm picking up, you are somebody who's starting to pick up, like if they feel nervous, if they want to complain about everything, if they feel everything is difficult and they're sharing it and complaining it onto you, it's bogging you down. It's too much. It's not for you. And then in turn, where we want to give that back. In other cases, it's just a sense of environment you can be taking on. In some cases, it's literally you're feeling the huge change of the world, and it's time to give it back. So you can give this back a couple different ways. One way you can do it is just take a meditative moment, which basically means you sit quietly, you kind of really give your present focus to what you're saying, and you just say to yourself, I return this energy to sender. And then you pause and you sit in it for a full minute, and then you let it go, and it's done. It's happened. You can ask your spirit guides for help. You can be like, spirit guides, can you help me? Spirit, if it's in my highest good, and they can help you if you would like that assistance. Now, in the place of someone directly affecting you, you're going to want to either right in the moment or after you hang up with them, say something along the lines of like, I'm going to get off the phone, and then you're going to in turn say, I'm returning this energy to sender. I don't want their energy. I'm acknowledging they're putting it on me, and I'm giving it back to them. And you also want to give your sort of the permission of saying, I see they're putting a lot on me. I just don't want it. I'm giving it back to them. Now that I'm giving it back to them, what would I be like without this? Who am I underneath this? If you need to take a moment to discover that and it doesn't come instantly, you don't need to be like mad at yourself or think you're not capable of sensing it, sometimes it takes people a couple of minutes to tap within. And that doesn't mean anything other than the importance of just being able to get there and say, if I remove all this tension, who am I underneath it all? And if you're like, well, I don't really feel anything. Well, that's something. That means you don't feel the nervousness or, we'll say, negative mindset that they once were projecting on you. So you at least feel light, and you can start from there and start identifying things and opening up. But it's time to give that energy back to them. It's one of the reasons why it's being bogged down energy at home. You don't deserve that anymore. It's time to reach out and accept people's invitations and start getting out there and seeing how this can pull you out. This is sort of the hook that's pulling you out in a good way. Because I'm thinking of like a fish analogy out of the ocean, and I'm like, wait a minute, fishes don't want to be taken out of the ocean. Imagine when you get taken out of the ocean, you grow a set of wings, if you will. So, anyways, I am excited for you. I am excited for this helping you. Please let me know down below how this does, if it, how you connect to it, and so on and so forth. I am wishing you the best. Please consider giving this video a like, comment, and subscribe and share. Helps out like you would not believe. Have a lovely day. Don't worry, it always gets better. And let's get ready for group number 2. Group number 2, let's figure out how can we turn that frown upside down by looking at the cards. You're gonna have to forgive my voice. The last couple times I've been filming, my voice has been so tired in the morning. I'm not tired. I'm here, but I sound like I've been through things. I've experienced things. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Oh, I can totally relate to this. Okay, so I can get started right away. So this is really interesting because especially when we have the 10 of Swords in reverse here and the 9 of Swords in reverse, this is intense, heavy anxiety. And the reason why it's important to acknowledge this is if you deal with that, you deal with those overwhelming thoughts and feelings, keywords, thoughts, keyword, thought. Anyone can tell you that it's super frustrating when people are like, oh, you're just thinking too deep about that. Just let it go. And you're like, if I could let it go, I would. Or if I could stop overthinking or continuously being aware of it, I would. Here's the thing to acknowledge and applaud. This shows us you are a very passionate person, which makes sense when we have the Ace of Wands going on over here in the direction we want to move you towards. You are someone who has wishes and desires and motivation and drive to get there. You care. It's kind of hard to turn that off. And when you're transitioning out of this mindset, it can kind of range between caring too much and then forcing yourself not to care at all. In some cases, you might find yourself flipping between these two in order to, like, it's like your internal system trying to cope, and it's trying to cope by being like, how can I do the opposite? Now that's a really funny turn of phrase because that is actually sort of our theme, so to speak here, is to do the opposite. So understand as I move forward, I'm going to point out a bunch of things. And at first you're just going to hear it and be like, yeah, yes, I've been doing that. But we're going to go with a sort of, we're going to do the opposite theme that will make more sense after I explain everything. And then you're going to have, it's not going to be vague. You're going to be able to work with it. So just kind of stick around. Take everything with a grain of salt. None of this is a criticism. You get what I'm saying. We're going to move forward. So, 9 of Swords in reverse. This is when you are over and over and over and over and over and over and over again repeating a thought. This is why you're sort of kind of driving yourself a little nuts because it's just repeating so often. So keep that in mind. This is our sort of first clue of quote unquote doing the opposite. And again, before you say, yeah, I'd love to do the opposite, I don't know how to. We'll get into that. We'll get started with that. But here's the cool thing with the 9 of Swords in reverse. The 9 of Swords in reverse shows up when somebody is not necessarily, how do I put this? Their anxiety and their worries are actually not based on reality. It doesn't mean your emotions aren't real, and it doesn't mean it can't feel really real, and you're like, no, I'm a little freaked out, I need more money, it's real. But here's the thing, if it's in reverse, it says that it is fixable, it is not as bad as you think it is, so therefore we can do something about it. And it is in turn a good thing, because while your emotions and your anxieties are real, and there's nothing wrong with that, we're going to be talking about that, the beautiful thing is it means we can deal with something with that. If it was upright, it means like, yeah, you're going to have to just kind of quietly heal. It's all real. And it's sort of that you're not really quite sure how to pull yourself out. And one day you find yourself that you're able to, and no one can quite give you the right guidance or advice because it's going to be a weird, mysterious journey and not one single thing can solve it. So this is a good thing. This is solvable. We can work forward from here. Now, the extra cool thing going on here is with the combination of the 9 of Swords in reverse and the 10 of Swords in reverse. This is our confirmation that, yes, you will in fact overcome this. I know it doesn't seem like it now, but you will. And we love that. We love a positive omen and confirmation that it's happening. It will. In addition to that, the 10 of Swords is sort of like a double confirmation within this, because this is about a mindset needing to end and going to end, which we love that, internally within yourself. And the cool thing is it does imply that by overcoming this, you're sort of, how do I put this in this particular case and situation? Okay, I'm going to have to explain it in a particular way, and it's going to sound a little like scary at first, but I don't have another way to put it, so just stick with me here. Normally this card represents the idea of dodging a bullet, if you will, as in you, by this ending, you then prevented something worse from happening. Now before, I'm sure from a more tense mindset that you are now, you're like, wait, what? I need to get rid of this soon. Hold on. That is not this case. It does not mean anything bad is going to happen, and that you need to get rid of this ASAP in order to prevent that. It just means in this scenario that, go figure, you will be better off and enjoy, if there's 2 different paths going on, one where you continued this and one where you overcame it, you're going to be so pumped and notice a huge 180 change for the better by being down this other scenario. And it is happening, and we can confirm that. So again, you do not need to worry if your brain starts to think, but what if I can't overcome it, or I can't overcome it in a quick enough fashion? Is something going to happen? No. Not at all. Everything's going to be okay. You're not going to be very comfortable for the time being. And if you don't put in the effort to remove it, it's just not really pleasant. But yeah, that's about it. It's just not very fun to go through. That's all. So I just want to put that out there. So the reason why it needs to end and everything is very much the obvious, the 8 of Wands in reverse. We've got 2 different situations popping up predominantly for this general reading. For some of you, it is about when you are obsessed with the idea of manifesting, and you just feel like it's your constant mantra and idea, and you're not letting it go enough to actually come into realization. So these opportunities you're trying to wish for, they're trying to come your way, but because you're never giving them a break to therefore exist. You know how a lot of people, when they manifest, they say, you have to let it go, you have to not care about it, you have to not hold it in importance. Keep in mind, I am very aware that is a difficult thing to practice, but this is what's going on right now. It's too much of your own focus. And then in the other scenario, it is about opportunities coming to a halt due to you being so consumed with it. It's like you might not be wishing for manifestations, but they're actually around the corner, these opportunities, these moments, these things, and you're pushing them away, and there's a self-awareness that there's nothing coming your way. You feel like, man, I wish more people were interested in me, whether this be friendship or romance. I wish more people were interested in the project or the skills I have to offer so I could make more money or work towards something, and it just doesn't feel like it's coming my way. This is in turn a weird sort of positive, because it implies it is actually around you. You can accept it, you can receive it, and this sort of mindset and this distraction, it's consuming all of your attention and energy and intention to receive it. It's not able to come your way. Again, this is not, I just want to repeat this one more time. I know you're hearing all this and thinking, yeah, well, great, cool, awesome. How do I change that? We have to point it out in order to do the opposite. So last over here, So the Ace of Wands turning away from all this, leading in direction, it's not being read in reverse for my fellow tarot readers because it is facing this other direction in this reading. It is implying that we are moving away from this mindset and we want to focus over here with a new sense of passion. Energy is a huge thing going on here. This is you too much in your head, and we want to transition to something you're more feeling on a deep level. And here's where it can get confusing. Not feel as in emotions, like happy and sad. Feel as in enthusiasm, hope. It's sort of an internal sense of energy, that feeling, that indescribable feeling when you're just interested in something. The results of that feeling then create emotions like excitement, and you see what I'm saying? But we're going towards this sort of direction. Often this is associated with hobbies or interests, and we definitely want to move you towards that. So we're going to get more specific about that in one moment. I have to be vague about all of these things for it to all wrap together, so to speak. But we want to prevent what's going on over here in the Two of Wands in reverse. The Two of Wands in reverse is kind of over obsessive planning in this case. We don't want you being like, yay, I have this new hobby or idea. And then you start to be like, well, I can't start it until I figure out this. Go out this very second if you know what it is, the hobby or passion you want to put more attention towards, and buy those books, buy those crafts, whatever supplies you need immediately. Don't worry if you buy something and it's not the right thing you need. You can work it into the project or buy something else. Just move forward. It's the active momentum. This is going to cause you to get stuck in the process of just planning, and then 6 weeks are going to go by and you're going to become sort of, I'm trying to put this in a nice way, you're going to become redundant over time telling everyone, yeah, I'm going to start this project. You have to start it now. You have to literally rip yourself out of what's going on over here with what's with this new sort of passion and project, but be aware of not over planning essentially. So let's tie this all in together. So as you know, it is very hard to shut off certain inner monologues. But this is because you have a very high, intense level of motivation and focus, which is in fact a huge strength that most people with heightened level of intense repeating thoughts are not aware of and fully harnessing. So we need to redirect your thoughts. It's not about giving them up or letting go. That is a skill you will learn in time and will be more of a byproduct of where we're starting at with training wheels. Where we're going to move you directionally and what you're going to do is going to then, in the long term, cause you to be like, wow, I just have time periods where I don't think about anything at all and I'm just really relaxed and I accept this. Wild. It is very wild when you come from this consistent mindset. So, with the repeating thoughts, the first thing we need to do is figure out what are you repeating over and over in your head, and then sort of kind of lovingly ban that topic for a little while. So you're going to have to be very proactive in this. It's going to be a skill. Think of it as if you're not good in the beginning, you have to be nice to yourself and patient and say to yourself, hey, I'm not that great at redirecting my thoughts right now, but the more I practice it, the easier it will get. So let's say we're going to just make up a funny situation. You can't stop thinking about cheese. We're going to use cheese as the example. Every time you think about cheese, you're going to immediately shove another thought in there. You're going to be like, I want you to just pick a random object in the room. I'm looking at the lamp. I'm thinking about lamps now. I want you to start changing your brain set towards something else, another idea. Do be aware of not picking one thing consistently and then transferring your repeating thoughts to a new kind of repeating thoughts. That is a little fun way our brains try to trick us. Just for now, to get some sort of handle on this, pick a different thought. So when we talked about manifesting, and you're constantly thinking about like, well, how do I let this go? Well, this is difficult. I know this is going to be hard to hear and hard to initially react. I'm certain your body will have an initial emotional reaction. It will not last more than a day or two. It will not be a huge deal when your body goes, no, I have to think about this all the time. If I don't think about it, it won't come true. That's just not the case at all. In fact, think about it. Has your manifestations been happening due to this type of thinking? Think about that. So if this isn't working, we're going to do the opposite. You've already said to the universe, this is what I want. And so when you feel that manifestation come up in your head and start to happen, you're going to immediately be like oranges. I'm thinking about oranges. I'm thinking about vinyl records. Does anyone still collect them anymore? And you're just going to redirect your thought. In fact, I think that you should try to pick the most obscure, not specific, not a big deal, has nothing to do with romance or career-oriented thoughts. Think about chairs, think about anything else, random objects that have no terrible significance, you know what I mean? And we're going to readjust our thoughts and move them. I'm totally blanking what I said in the Ten of Swords in reverse. I'm sorry. As you can see, I just speak off the cuff, and sometimes I lose what I'm saying. There's something I wanted to say we're going to do in reverse here. Oh, I remember. If you start to think, well, if I don't think this, there will be X, Y, and Z repercussions, it's not about comforting them anymore. That is not working. That is not helping. Trying to find mental solutions to comfort yourself, say, don't worry, it's not going to happen. This is going to be probably one of the harder ones to just endure for a day or two of feeling your body's going to naturally freak the heck out for a second. But think of it this way, feeling uncomfortable for 2 days and then having years of happiness, or constantly comforting yourself, having 2 seconds of okayness, and then feeling incredibly discomfortable for years. Do you see what I'm saying? So you're going to initially have this sort of volatile reaction of just being like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And when you feel something like pop up where it's like, well, what if this happens? You're going to have to not comfort that, not even give it attention if it's going to be real, and then again insert some random sort of chair, oranges, and just redirect your thought towards random things. This is just where we're going to start. So then we're going to talk about what's going on over here with the Ace of Wands. This is going to be a passion or interest that you've never done before. You have to go out of your comfort zone and do something different. It doesn't have to be so out of your comfort zone. Like, example, if you have a fear of heights, don't go rock climbing. But do something like, for many people, maybe you've never played a video game. Go do that. If you've never painted, go look up a Bob Ross episode and get some acrylic paints and follow along. Do something completely different that maybe isn't your truest, biggest passion, but you can discover in time that you really enjoy. It's kind of best for you now not to pick something that you will then in turn turn into a career, that your brain goes, I could turn this into a career, or it needs to fulfill your every single wish and passion. It's kind of best to pick something that you feel more neutral about and slowly start to be like, I enjoy this, I like this. Because you having something that isn't your full passion will then prevent you from wanting to make it more of an obsessive thing. Do you see what I'm saying here? Like, if it's something you're too interested in, the caring too much will kick in, and we don't want that. Neutral's good for you now. You're going to have a good time, you're going to enjoy this, but we want neutral. And because it's neutral, we don't need to overplan it and make it really specific and perfect, and you won't feel as inclined to do that when, like we talked about over here, you are just like, yeah, whatever, it's fun, I'm doing it. Compare one last example I'll say is example like a runner, right? A runner is going to be like, I love running. I got to get the best sneakers. I'm going to do all this research to make sure I get the best arch support and everything like that. While a person who's kind of like, I think I'll try running, they're just going to throw on an old pair of shoes that they mow the lawn with, and they're going to go for a run, and they're going to have a great time, and they're just going to do it real quickly. They're not going to make an excuse not to run or go running less just because they don't have the right pair of shoes. And therefore, they get the effects of the run, whether that be emotional or physical, sooner and faster and more of it. So consider that as you're picking your quote-unquote neutral hobby. Thing you're kind of interested in, but it's like not that big of a deal to you. So I hope you enjoyed this reading. I am sincerely wishing you the best. I'm telling you, it's getting better from here. It is. We already have confirmation. It always does anyways, but we have confirmation. So I hope you enjoyed this video like I did. Please consider giving it a like, comment, subscribe, and share. It helps out like you would not believe. Have a lovely day. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And let's get ready for group number 3. Group number 3, let's figure out how can we turn that frown upside down by looking at the cards. Let's look at this. I'm really happy because the last 2 readings I just did, my voice was so tired sounding because when I get up in the morning lately, I can't seem to shake it until I've been talking for a while. So you're hearing the most awake version of me. I, energy-wise, am always awake in the morning, but lately my voice needs a hot, second. Oh, can we just take a moment to look at this card before I get into this reading? I already know what's going on. We're going to talk about it. But she's like, do you want the present? And they're like, please, yes. It's so hilarious. I love it. Okay, so what I want to just right off the bat get into, and I'm excited about, is sometimes when we are looking over an issue, we need to know where somebody came from in order to directly address the problem. But I absolutely love this. There is some subtext of what's going on and what's happening currently right now, which is causing that quote-unquote frown. But that is actually not important. It is solely solution, and it's an entire journey laid out. And this is where it gets really cool. It involves making money. It involves financial gain and memories built around it and lots of beautiful stuff. So get excited to how your frown turned upside right while you are also making money as a sort of byproduct, if you will. So this is actually going to be read for my tarot readers. I like to point this stuff out so it helps you guys. This is going to be read chronologically. So let's first start with what's going over here with the 7 of Cups. It's very important the way it is projected in this particular card. So if we look over here, we can see there are flowers going on. We can see that this mermaid, this beautiful siren, is on land. But we also see that the sky and the stars are above them. So we understand they are in this sort of middle area, right? Yes, mermaids can go on to land, so that's not super impossible. We've seen the Little Mermaid. We've seen them sit on that rock. It's possible. But the floating fish representing the cups is super surreal and seems impossible. And, as far as we're aware, goldfish are not flying around in the sky. And so this is our sort of tone and our huge leap of faith you're going to have to go into. I see there are a lot of choices in front of you, but these all of them are completely out of your realm, out of your allowing yourself to have possibilities. This is like believing that you can, be the CEO of a $1 billion company. And you're like, based on either my age or my education, I don't know if I could put myself in that box. But this is saying, guess what? That option's there for you. Really. You're being asked to consider it. You need to think of all these options. And you need to acknowledge, you're not quite sure how you get there. It for sure is going to seem impossible. And yet it is being displayed in front of you. It's interesting. Sometimes when we feel like feelings of hopelessness, and this is where the subtext comes in, where I feel that you are coming from, it is a sort of defense mechanism I have found that we put up within ourselves. So when you feel hopeless, you actually in turn are starting to believe that maybe anything is possible. And your insides and your emotions, if you will, definitely with the cups, are like, I want to protect you. I don't want you to get hurt. So I will make you feel hopeless, feel it is not possible as a sort of defense mechanism. So I then in turn follow that route of thinking, and then I give up quicker and I don't, feel bad. So the more hopeless you feel, the more actually hope you are bottling up, and it's time to let it out. You are welcome to, this is just an add-on, if you're like, well, how do I get there? It is just a combination of taking a leap of, faith, as we talked about, and just trying it. You can go into this not fully believing it. I just want to be clear about this. You can choose this route, and you do not have to necessarily believe it's going to happen. Anyways, so with this other mentality, you can visualize it. When you have this moment of hopelessness, acknowledge that it is caging around a little bottle with inside you with a cork in the top. A cork. Not a cap, not something to screw, something easy to pull out. Think of a little cartoon bottle that will make a little sound when you open it, and it's quite easy to open. And you just have to acknowledge that when you open it, a force that cannot, or the force to be reckoned with, I couldn't think of the phrasing, a force to be reckoned with, a hurricane in a bottle will burst out and push away that hopelessness like nobody's business. And every time you notice that hopelessness, open that bottle, acknowledge it, let yourself dream. So first off, with this 7 of Cups situation, is you're going to have to pick from one of these scenarios. You are going to have to pick one, and you're going to have to focus in it. Acknowledge all of your options. They're all surreal. They all seem out of possibility or imagination, and then you're going to pick one. And then once you have that direction, that's it. The seed is immediately planted by choosing and saying, this is what I'm going to focus on. And the seed being planted analogy is the idea that if you plant a seed, it will become a plant that will then bear some sort of fruit, vegetable, whatever may have you. And so it's sort of in its own more gentler version, a force to also be reckoned with, because one tiny concept produces so much. So this is our first sort of inkling, if you will, that possibility is there, that you can have that. But I do want to point out one last thing. This is me kind of kicking your butt that last bit. So if you start to say, well, I don't know, maybe, I am so sorry about that. Alarm went off in the other room and you could hear it. I ran and turned it off. Sorry about that. Anyways, going back to what we were talking about, this is important to acknowledge. A lot of people don't realize this. So when we have Ace of Wands being represented by the number 1, 1 is actually really interesting. I went to the Akashic Records, and I was told that the number 1 is associated with the idea of potential possibility. It could be actualized, but it's still hanging in the air and waiting for you to then set the intention, make the decision. So this is sort of the last final moment of being like, well, I don't know. They said it's going to happen. No. It can only happen if you want it to happen. It's there. It's waiting for you. It can happen. Second you make that choice, you entertain it. But acknowledge that it will not happen unless you be proactive and actualize it intentionally. I feel like I said that word too many times. You know what I'm saying. So this is when it all sort of kind of starts to unfold, which I love. So the 8 of Pentacles and the 7 of Pentacles are incredibly important because this is where we want to transfer. And this is where the sort of frown being turned upside down actualizes. Because it in fact is not just the hope. Hope will be an initial happy, exciting feeling, but it will not be the full solution. This is a temporary like a little sort of within itself a training wheels of getting you to the actual thing that will in the long term turn your frown upside down. And this is over here. So this is exciting, it's starting, and then this is the real thing. So in the 8 of Pentacles, this is showing you doing your day-to-day thing. Example, we have a graphic designer over here. We're going to use them as an example. You decide, okay, I'm going to start my own graphic design company. I'm dreaming big, a whole company. I want it. I'm excited about it. I'm going to just start with one little person, me, and not me, the reader. You hire me. I'm talking about you. And you just kind of start chipping away at it, working on your tablet, doing your thing. And as you do this, you are going to be aware that it's something that takes a little while and that it's not so much about when you get there or, really setting your mind on the next sort of big deal, like a promotion or big commission. It's about just every day you're working. Some things earn more money for sure. Some things are just ideas you're working on, but it's just every day. It's the act of working on the skill. And it's not even about the skill. It's just the day-to-day grind that's important. Over here with the Seven of Pentacles upright, this is the confirmation that the dream being realized to its fullest potential, and even we'll say the first tier of its big potential. You know what I mean? You can still be excited that maybe your company is worth like $80,000, but in the long term you want it to be worth $1 million. So think of this ending as sort of the 80,000 mark, if you will. So the idea of the Seven Pentacles representing that it will take a little bit of time does not mean that you're going to have to wait years and years and years to enjoy this feeling, if you will, and this financial payoff. So in the Seven of Pentacles, this also repeats a similar notion with the Eight of Pentacles. It's about the day-to-day. But something important to note here. This is someone who also has to have hope and kind of find happiness within the present moment. That's the key going on here. Because in the Seven of Pentacles, this represents when someone has not received some form of a trophy or a reward or like proof that what they have done was the right thing, and therefore they can now level up to the next set of career, relationship, whatever that may be. And in this case, this would be you working regularly, doing the same thing over and over again. And when we don't receive results, even though we've been doing the same thing over and over again, we start to think, does that then mean what I'm doing isn't working? Well, when it's a Seven of Pentacles, it's saying, no, it is working. It's just going to take a moment. Keep doing, though. It's important. Keep doing what you're doing over and over and over and over again, because it's adding up. You're not seeing the reward now, and you're going to have to choose to have faith that what you're doing is the right thing, even if you're not necessarily seeing it yet. But keep going. So this not only talks about time and patience, but both of these take time for a specific reason. Things take time and work out the way they do truly for divine reasons. The universe does know better. Trust me. And so, with this situation going on, it is teaching you the ability to be present in the moment. Soon, you kind of are waiting for a little while long enough that your sense of needing an answer, living in the past, living in the future, thinking of different mindsets starts to kind of die off, and you just kind of sort of get lost in your work. And then you enjoy being in the moment, being happy. Everything else happens around you, like money due to your hard work and other things like that. But that moment of being truly present due to these surrounding factors, that's the frown being turned upside down. And I love that. So then this leads to the last thing, which is really interesting. It's sort of the crowning jewel you don't anticipate. So again, initially you'll think, oh, it's because I have a new passion and dream. That's what made me happy. I mean, for sure, it will make you happy. But then this is what's really causing it. This is the real big long-term, deeply building a belief system within you. I'm so sorry. Again, a car was going off, an alarm, if you will. So anyways, going back to what we were saying, in the Six of Pentacles, this final note, this is the long-term belief system like we talked about, but this is what you had not anticipated where it would evolve. When you feel you are at a financially comfortable place, you're going to want to go out of your way to share that wealth with little fun, small gifts. It's just pretty literal, as you can see in the image. This is a positive insinuation and subtext that you're going to have a whole different life than you have now. You're going to meet friends through this journey, ones you care about enough to feel motivated to buy presents. You're not buying presents just to be nice. You genuinely want to do this. And then it's not about generosity. Here's the important thing. It is not about happiness through generosity because of being a good person, and being a good person will make you happy. Not at all. Erase that from your mind. This is about the act itself of giving a gift. It's like the joy of finding a present, seeing that your friends seeing that when they receive this present, you know them so well, you acknowledging you have this connection, being appreciative. Again, it's not about being a quote-unquote good person. It's the experience as a whole that takes your being in the moment sort of happiness onto a new level, an evolution of where it can go next. And from there, I'm very excited to see where it evolves more. So this is just a really fun, financially beneficial journey that's going to take some time. You will have happiness before then. It's not going to take time to get to the happiness. But we are building something that's deep and concrete and something that is unshakable, and a mentality where you'll look back and be like, whoa, I totally did not think the way I think completely different than the way I did back in the day. And this is now the back in the day. So I'm excited for you to take advantage of this opportunity. Remember, go out there with the ideas and surreal and concepts of like, I never think this could thought this could happen. It can. Put yourself out there. Dream it. I'm wishing you the best. Don't worry, it always gets better. It really does. We know it does, but it does. And please consider sharing, commenting, and subscribing and liking this video. It helps out like you would not believe. Have a lovely day. See you in the next one. And let's get ready for group number 4. Group number 4. Let's figure out how can we turn that frown upside down by looking at the cards. We've got 10 of Pentacles in reverse, Page of Pentacles in reverse, King of Wands upright, Queen of Swords in reverse, and Knight of Swords in reverse. Okay. Okay. I'm picking it up too, but my spirit guide is confirming this. Okay, so before we get started, I'm going to request, you're going to have to hear some stuff that I'm feeling there's going to be a lot of resistance hearing this. Please do your best to fight that inclination. This is meant to help you become self-aware. It's not a criticism. It's not a character assassination, nothing like that. There's nothing bad going on here. It's just not what's helping you is the best way I can put it. You know what I mean? You're not being criticized for your actions. It's just that the actions that you're kind of going about you're not fully aware of them, and it's just not helping you. And so by becoming aware of them, sometimes it's not fun to hear certain things. Essentially, we can reroute them, put it in a different direction, put in some active work that will be difficult. It does not mean, and I want to be clear about this, it does not mean it has to be difficult. These things can be quite easy to overcome. But just remember, the more you resist, the more you think, this is stupid, I don't want to deal with this. No, that kind of inclination, this is your sort of clue. The last thing I'll say before we'll go into all the specifics is when we do certain things, like what I just gave an example of as a resistance, is a little inner clue. It is our way, and this is a good thing, it is our way of our body and our insides protecting itself, our soul, if you will. And it says, if I face the truth, I might initially take it hard. And so I want to protect myself. So I will then say, I don't want to do this. This is hard. This is silly, so on and so forth. And so when you feel that sort of internal monologue kick in, you have to push through that and face it and go, why are you saying that? What are you preventing me from seeing? Because if I keep not seeing it, I'm going to keep feeling this quote unquote frown. If I face it, if I see it, if this brings me closer to feeling happier, then let me see it. So let's get into this. And again, I just want to be clear here. I need to say this before, I'm not trying to ramble, but you are not a bad person. Underneath it all, there is nothing. I think there's this internal fear of like, does that mean I'm a bad person underneath it all? I'm afraid to face it. I don't know if I like myself. Not at all. I can see you're a very wonderful person, but I can see the fear popping up. And again, fear is acting as a protective method. Sometimes it's overwhelming to know that we're that great of a person, and it's hard to accept. And so these defense mechanisms come up. So let's get into all that. Let's break down those walls, so to speak. So here you are represented by the King of Wands. Specifically, we are viewing them as a leader, an unmovable. I can see this is why the resistance is coming in very strong. You are not moving forward in any sort of direction. There is a clear and conscious choice to stagnate and say, I'm not changing. This is my safe spot. I'm not leaving my spot. Because if I leave my spot, I can't tell other people, not tell other people what to do. That's not what I'm picking up from you. The best way I can put it is, over here, the Page of Pentacles is representing the idea of giving out your energy and attention. I can't tell my internal system what to do and how to work. And if I let that go, I'm vulnerable. I'm not giving up my kingdom. And there is a sort of inner lie you're telling yourself. We'll talk about that more over here with the Queen of Swords in reverse. That somehow your kingdom is your strength. That somehow it could even topple, or anything could happen to it, or even if anyone's even after it, to be honest with you. And so this is what's popping up the strongest. This is where the motivation is coming in. That's causing the resistance of what needs to be faced and what is happening. So what's happening is, in the Page of Pentacles, think of this as a version of yourself sending out where they choose to put their energy and time. Who gets what? When you interact with other people or projects even, think of, it doesn't have to be straight up people. It can be like, what projects or ideas or books or whatever, how much attention are they going to get from you? What kind of energy are they going to get from you? And it's very picky and choosy and slow and decisive. And this is internally, you're thinking like on a subconscious level, if I'm very careful and very particular and make safe choices, I'm safe. I'm protecting my quote-unquote kingdom. But in reality, it's actually causing what's going on over here in the Ten of Pentacles. Ten of Pentacles just basically describes wasted energy. In many typical readings, it would be referred to as wasted income, like someone spending a ton of money. But this is more about income not being put in any particular place that the investments will then pay off. Both of these cards talk about investment. And there's just not really any investment going on here. You're trying to make choices, and you have to then ask yourself the bigger question. Well, then what is my end goal? Do I want anything to change? Do I want to invest in something and watch it grow and become something different? Because that is where your change is coming from, is from investment, taking a chance. And that's not really happening. Everything that's being chosen is way too overthought. It's not fun for you to do this. It's hurting you. You don't like this. You're not building any bonds towards anything. And it's kind of what your internal monologue is being like, yeah, that's what I want. But why do you feel so bad then? That's not what you want. Again, we talk about the defense system. You're saying to yourself that's what you want. So again, you don't hurt by wanting something and then being disappointed if it doesn't happen. But this is not the case. It's not about it happening or not happening. It's about the idea that the way you're approaching everything is preventing the sense of fluidity. This, like, sometimes people put themselves out there and they don't even think about it deeper if it's going to become something, and they're just having fun and they're relaxing and enjoying themselves by just simply fully being themselves. And here you are breaking everything down to such an intense detail. It's the last thing I'm going to say before I switch to here. I'm not trying to be redundant. I'm just trying to make the point that it's like when you interact with something, if one pentacle represents just energy, you'll send one small specific type of energy. Then the person, the internal version of you goes back to the king version of you. Okay, now what about emotions? Here's the emotion I will be willing to give and be willing to let go of. And they walk over with the one little bit of emotion. It's so exhausting to you. And it's just causing you to then be really tense. So over here, this is what this sort of persona and vibe, and because you're like, I can't let down my guard, I can't do anything else, it's preventing you then to do the really hard work and what you're avoiding. You're not protecting it, you're avoiding it. So over here in the Queen of Swords in reverse, it is the fear of facing the truth. A really honest conversation with yourself. And here's the important thing. You didn't get an Ace of Swords situation. You got a Queen of Swords. The Queen of Swords can be misinterpreted, especially in the moment when you're experiencing it. See, when she is upright, she experiences the truth, and she gives the truth to a point that it's blunt and it can be overwhelming to experience. Because she believes that she is doing the greater good. Why waste time and energy playing games when I can just tell you what it is? Now, sometimes people don't want to hear the truth. It's overwhelming to hear it. But by hearing it, we can then now face the problem, so on and so forth. And she does not ever do anything to be cruel. She does not approach anything in cruelty. She approaches things to get to the point of it, to then in turn solve it. Because she has enough respect for that other person, or in turn for yourself, that it's best to just know it and then solve it and deal with it, face it, so on and so forth. I am not being told the answer, and I'll be honest with you, I don't even need to consult my spirit guide. I can see them agreeing with me, but I don't even need to consult them. I'm not going to look into what that truth is. I don't feel it is my place to kind of put that sort of vulnerability out there. Normally I like to be specific to help guide your way. You know what it is. And you don't have to dig that deep to find out what it is you have to face. And I don't want to put you in an uncomfortable position where I kind of call it out here. You see what I'm saying? So we'll just leave it vague, as in there is a truth you need to face within yourself. And I just want to be clear. If you're like, is it that I'm a bad person? No! Nothing you're doing is bad. She does not do anything with cruelty, but it is intense and overwhelming to hear. And then last but not least, we have the Knight of Swords. This is also talking about the sense of truth. There is this fear that if it gets unleashed, if you have to face it, and this is where the defense mechanism comes in. It's when I say that terminology, it is not just simply there is an inside truth, a core part of who you are. The outside world is harsh, and then there's just one guard at the gate. There's like a multi-layered situation going on here. So sometimes if one self-defense mechanism goes away, another one kicks in. They've got backups. You see what I'm saying? Consider this one of the backups. There is the fear that if you find out the truth, the last sort of sense of defense is then getting frantically energetic and then being like, yeah, I'm not good. I don't know what I'm doing. This is why we shouldn't have faced it. This is also something you have to brace for, look at, and go, I'm not giving in to you. What if I'm a good person? What if I'm good enough? What if I'm worthy? Get out of here. I love you, but you are not welcomed. I will not fall for your lies, because this is the true lies. So, I hope that was okay for you, and I delivered that in the most comforting way possible. It's hard to hear this stuff. But again, I see a wonderful person that's just trying to protect themselves. The method is sort of in turn hurting yourself, and we can now fix that because we know how to approach it. I am wishing you the best. I'm telling you right now, it does get better. It always does. But we know that it does from over here, from what we can see and what you're going to face. It's going to get easier. It'll be initially rough to feel in the moment, and then the quicker you kind of say, I'm not giving into these internal defenses, you will accept it a lot faster, less resistance, the better. I know resistance feels scary. I get it. I've been there. But you have to just take that sort of leap of faith. Again, I'm wishing you the best. If you enjoyed this video, consider giving it a like, comment, subscribe, and share. Helps out the channel like you would not believe. Have a beautiful day. I will see you in the next one. And yeah, bye!